All right, so we're gonna watch the 34 themes video. There's a little bit of a lead up, so let's just skip past that. And if you feel like dancing, oh, by the way, yes, if you guys feel like dancing when you watch this, feel free. I'm just kidding. And I won't make you watch the whole thing. It gets a little repetitive, but we'll do a little bit here. See if this will help you. All right.
Hey, what's up? This is J.I. in partnership with Talent to Strength, and I have a little something for all you Clifton Strengths Finders enthusiasts out there. This is going to help you remember Gallup's 34 themes in order. First time through, I'll take it nice and slow, but pay attention because I'm going to pick it up, all right? You should be singing along by the time we finish, so pay attention. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Achiever, activator, adaptability, analytical, arranger, belief, command, communication, competition, connectedness, consistency, context, deliberative, developer, discipline, empathy, focus, futuristic, harmony, ideation, includer, individualization, input, intellection, learner, maximizer, positivity, relator, responsibility, restorative, self-assurance, significance, strategic, and woo, woo, woo. Those are your 34 themes. Now I'm gonna pick it up. Voice may sound a little faster, but I'm gonna be going at the same speed. Watch this.
Achiever, activator, adaptability, analytical, arranger, belief, command, communication, competition, connectedness, consistency, context, deliberative, developer, discipline, empathy, focus, futuristic, harmony, ideation, includer, individualization, input, intellection, learner, maximizer, positivity, relator, responsibility, restorative, self-assurance, significance, strategic, and woo, and woo, and woo.
Yeah. Now watch this. Let's have a little bit more fun.
Okay, you guys still there? Hello? Oh, okay. What'd you guys think?
I love it.
Yeah?
Well done. Woo, woo, woo.
See?
Sorry, music teacher, 20 years.
All I did was I just hired somebody off of Fiverr, really is all I did. And yeah, it was fun to make. So yeah.
They might be able to use it with the kids. I don't know. I mean,
there's the clean version, and then there's no, I'm just kidding. There's only one version. There's only one. All right.
There's an explicit version and a clean version.
Yes, yes. I also wanted to show you something that one of our teammates did for us recently. It's a secret web page. You can't get to it unless you like go to Positive Leadership and just type in 34 themes, but it has all the themes and the top 5s on here. So I wanted that for me. So no matter where I'm at, I could grab these images. So I just wanted to tell you about it as my friends. You know, you can just go to that link and you can get these visuals and all that. All right. Yes, so today we're going to be talking about the thinking themes, the strategic thinking themes. They used to be red and now they're green. They used to be purple, and then purple became the execution themes. And then I don't know, it's been a long story. It's been a painful story. But that's what we're going to talk about today, the thinking themes. Am I right? Am I right? Let's see who's represented in the group. Our dwindling numbers, holy cow. But yes, here's, we have some strategic and input. We have some intellection and learner and strategic. Learner, futuristic, strategic, input, learner. So there's some we don't have that we'll be talking about today. Here comes Bo. Oh, Bo missed the video. Welcome, Bo. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the thinking themes today. Before we get into that, I want to see, do you all have any reflections? Have you had any Strengths Finder, Theme Finder moments in your life? Any talent to strength observations or connections? Anything around coin? Anything around alignment? Yeah, Laura, do you have something?
I think I shared with the group a couple weeks ago that my daughter's entire university freshman class is using StrengthsFinder. And so I share the resources that you've given us. I share with her. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. I'm interested to know how go on, yeah.
They've been so helpful. The summaries of the top 30 of all 34 and the pictures have been so helpful. But one of her assignments in her seminar class, it has a Stranger Things theme, and every student in the class took a different character from the Stranger Things Netflix series, and they have to do a presentation, or they get to do a presentation on that character's top 5. And it's been so fun I don't see her, she's off away, but when I talk to her, it's been so fun to have those conversations. So she picked Dustin from Stranger Things, and she's working on his top 5 strengths, which I think is like so cool of that professor to relate that to something that is current in the students' lives and yet bring in and compare to their top 5. It's just been so neat, and I'm so excited for her in that journey.
Yeah, Dustin probably has Relator in his top 5. Yeah. Good. Well, that is a cool assignment. And it is really cool that you get to kind of bond over this content that, is relevant in both contexts, as a student, as a teacher, educator. So really cool, really cool. How about any other observations from themes, your own themes? Anything related to stuff we've talked about over this time together? Patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors?
I think as soon as you start jumping into this deeper dive on the talents to strengths, it opens up a whole new door. All of our interactions now, we start thinking in this language of like you said, you notice a character on a TV show and you wonder what might their top 5 themes or talents be. So it's amazing when you start learning about these innate talents and how to turn them into strengths, how you start thinking about that for everyone around you and every relationship that you have. And it had me thinking, we all know the value of this program because we're learning about it, we're seeing it in our lives. Is there an assessment available? And I apologize if we've talked about this in the past and I've forgotten. Is there an assessment available where we can show other organizations the value of this program, to where we know that there is a social emotional need out there, but how do you identify that?
Right. That's a great question. I mean, I honestly don't have the answer to it. I've never been one for the metric side of things because I don't know. In graduate school, it was an issue for me, the whole, what do they call it? Empirical tradition of trying to measure, where we're trying to make the non-tangible aspects of our world tangible by calling it science, by going from physical science and trying to crosswalk over to what we are now calling social science, which I believe in social science and I believe in the value of social science, but there is a hyper focus on metrics, and I get why too, because it is about outcomes and how do we know that we're producing the outcomes. It's just it gets a little silly, all the different ways we try to do that, and it loses me. So I've always just stayed away from all of that. For me, it's a faith proposition, and that's just kind of how I decided to do it. If I have to convince people with data about this, then there's probably not an ideological fit underneath that. You know what I mean? Because really, it's just you either hear the message of strengths and it resonates for you, or it doesn't. I mean, I remember this day, and I think I shared it with you. Did I share this slide with you? This is my Franklin Day Planner from June 13th, 1996. Did I tell you about this? Does this look familiar? It was, I pulled over to the side of the road because I was listening to an interview with Don Clifton. And basically, he was talking about the importance of talent and strength. And I didn't write the word strength down, I just wrote down talent. But near perfect performance was his definition of a strength. You know, and I just remember hearing that message, and it immediately, it resonated with me. And if I have to like be like, well, here's the data and here's why you should have people play to their strengths, then I don't know. Right. So anyway, that's my reaction to that. But I honestly don't have data on talent to strength and the effectiveness of it. You all can collect the data. You all are the data. You know, you represent a data point or several. If you've seen it in your own household, if you've seen it inside your own being, that's the first layer, right? Do you yourself experience the value from StrengthsFinder, from the application philosophy that we talk about at Talent to Strength? How do we apply the knowledge of StrengthsFinder? We're not so locked into the assessment and the 34 themes. We love all of that, but what we recognize is the 34 themes are patterns we can harness. But what we recognize even more is that this is about something bigger than, what flavors of ice cream am I, you know? Which of the 34 flavors or whatever. It's more than that. It really is about this. In our life, in our time on this planet as surface dwellers, we want to thrive. That's what we want. We want as much thriving in this time as possible for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our communities. And so how do we get thriving? We get thriving by putting our resources into the right areas. So part of our resources is our energy, our time, our attention, all things that we do in their day-to-day, and where do we want to channel them? And we get more fulfillment when we channel them in the right areas, and we get less fulfillment or less thriving when we channel them in the wrong areas. We waste our resources essentially. So what we're meant to do with this I'm trying not to make it complicated. I'm actually trying to make it simple, but what I'm trying to say is what we do with this is we think about what are the activities that if we perform them at the right level will bring about more thriving for whatever that means to you. It could be around finances, it could be around fitness, it could be around family, it could be around fun. I just want to think of F words, you know, but like, in what ways would thriving show up for us? And then if we put our resources into those activities, we should experience better results. Now, where does StrengthsFinder fit in? Well, we have these patterns that if we harness them correctly, we can incorporate them into those activities that we do. If you could think about how you could apply your top 5 themes to the activities that will bring about thriving. So at your workplace, in your job, what would thriving look like? How could you use your themes for that? At home, what does thriving look like? How could you use their themes for that? For the people around you, what are the activities that if they perform them correctly or at the right level would produce thriving for them? Who are the students in your life or whatever, and you want to support them, help them identify their talents and help them aim those talents toward those activities or incorporate those talents in the performance of those activities. That's what you do with this. Does that make sense? Because it's a very important part of the whole curriculum. It's actually core to Don Clifton's philosophy, but it is lost. I know it's lost because when I talk to other people in the StrengthsFinder community, which I stopped doing kind of, but I got enough to know that they're focused on the 34 themes, which is cool. That is part of it. The self-awareness, that's part of it, but it's the application, which is funny because I'm often accused of being too theoretical and not, concrete enough. But it is all about the showing up of our themes in our day-to-day life. They're these engines of potential within you, engines that require very little fuel to operate. They're very efficient. And they provide you with energy. You know, you feel good when you're engaging them. All right, what are your reactions to that? Because you don't have to have any reactions. I just want to say what I just talked about, I consider to be probably the most important aspect of this whole curriculum.
And I absolutely love and agree with all of that. So we're a local not-for-profit, and we know that our programs are amazing, but how do we convey that to other people? So we have to attach metrics to what we're doing.
Yes.
Because we have to go and say, hey, will you support us? So then when I start thinking about the talents, the strengths, and identifying, hey, this is great. It sounds like to me, and really I feel that this could be true, that I need to work on the passion and not the metrics, because when you talk about something passionately, it can be contagious. And so when you talk about surviving or thriving, I would agree that a lot of people in today's culture would start to tune into what you're saying. What are you talking about, thriving? Because I do feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. So I guess your answer kind of led me to, and really it's probably what we should be doing with our programs anyway, and that's work on the passion so that when we talk about them, people can tell that this is something amazing and they want to experience it.
Yes. But I also want to, you know, support what you're saying, because maybe I need to temper my passion with some metrics. I actually think that's true. I do. I really think some metrics would be good for this. So, but I think it's not a strength of mine. Like, there's an activity called gathering metrics. And on the performance ladder, I mean, we may as well apply all this to the content, because it absolutely applies to the content. Because I think that talent to strength would thrive more if I had metrics to go with it. I just know that I'm not good at it, and I cannot find my ladder of competence model, you know, going from oblivious to the idea of gathering metrics. Yeah, here it is. Being oblivious to the activity of gathering metrics to at least going basic. I'm not even doing the basics because I do have a fixed mindset. Don't tell me.
But Adam, one of the things that you do with YPI could be applicable here, which is the surveys.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, have a series of questions that people answer prior to taking the assessment and going through any type of workshop, and then another assessment. And then it's not hard metrics, but at least it gives you something tangible that you can show to potential donors.
I think that is good. And something Heather and I talked about recently too, and so I'll just pull it up. It's this person named Kirkpatrick came up with sort of some ways to measure training. And so level 1 is the reaction. You know, do they like it, basically? Level 2 is learning. So to what degree do participants acquire the intended knowledge, skills, and attitude, blah, blah. You know, level 4 is the behavior. So to what degree did you impact your participants and how they behave? And then this last one, I guess they call results, is the degree to which targeted outcomes occur as a result of the training and support and account. I don't know, whatever those words mean. So I do think that it would be worth exploring ways to gather some metrics for what you all are doing. I don't know what that would look like, but I would support that. I'd love to see it. Yeah. Anything else on that? All right. So yeah, and even when we look at this slide, it really is, when I shared this with you before, I was drawing for you the same message. If you want outcomes, I know it looks really messy. If you want outcomes, which are thriving, you want your outcomes, you want thriving. Of course, you want to survive. That's really important. But beyond survival, you want to thrive. That's the outcomes you want. Thriving means to grow, to succeed, to flourish, to make meaningful progress. We want the things we care about to thrive. And in order for that to happen, we have to perform the right activity at the right level. And in order to perform the activity at the right level, meaning moving up this ladder, we apply our themes. Our themes are what help us move up the ladder. If we apply our themes to the activity, if we grow our knowledge related to that activity, and if we increase our skills, we perform the steps of that activity. These 3 ways, themes, knowledge, and skills, are how we get better at the activity. All right. So that's my open, that's just some opening conversation. We saw you didn't get to see it, Bo and Ashley, but we did a really cool video. I'll see if I can put that link into here so you can enjoy it for yourselves. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll put the link right here in the chat. So there's a little video on the 34 themes. I reiterated, that it's not just about learning about our themes, our patterns for how we think, feel, and behave, but now how do we apply them in the activities that matter to us? So that's really important. All right, so what I'd like to do for the remainder of our time is talk through the what are called the thinking themes, or Gallup calls them the strategic thinking themes. So do you guys want to talk about anything else before we get into that? All right, very good. So then what I want to do is get into this, the document generator. I pulled up our thinking themes. We have group A of the thinking themes. So there's 8 of them total. So we'll cover the first 5, and then that's in group A. So the first one is the analytical theme, and nobody in our group has this, but does anybody have people in their lives who have the analytical theme that they know of? Heather, I know you do. Yeah, so the analytical theme, and again, it's that image to try to capture the essence of it. Like, this person is using a lot of instrumentation and likes numbers, and also has a clipboard that has diagrams and charts. So this person has logic. This really is their mind. They're Vulcan-like. They base their decisions on data and facts. Don't confuse me with emotions. I want to get to the data. They look for underlying causes. Why are things the way they are? And I want to know the factual reasons. I don't want to know your guesses. Everybody has a guess. I want to know actual data, or reliable. I need reliable information. And they're really good at identifying inconsistencies and gaps. Their BS detector goes off if they're like, wait a minute, how did you go from here to here? There's something missing, you see. And they're really good at helping other people refine their ideas with an objective viewpoint. If you survive the brutality, that is. When they give feedback, it tends to be pretty much like cut and dry too. And so, but they're going to point out the typos and the spelling errors and the inconsistencies. Get ready for that. To go to the Gallup official canon, your analytical theme challenges other people to prove it. Show me why what you're claiming is true. In the face of this kind of questioning, people will find their brilliant ideas wither and die. For you, this is the point. You don't necessarily want to destroy other people's bad ideas. Oops, I put in the word bad. But you do insist that their theories be sound. You see yourself as objective, dispassionate. You like data because they're value-free. They have no agenda. People have agendas, data doesn't. So armed with data, you look for patterns and connections. So you might see this, there's another theme called connectedness, where they also look for patterns and connections, and strategic does too, which we'll get to later. You want to understand how certain patterns affect one another. How do they combine? What is their outcome? Does this outcome fit with the theory being offered? There's what we talk about, theories that we espouse, and then where there's the theories that we actually take action on. These are your questions. You peel back layers until gradually you get to the root cause. That's good. They like root causes. Others see you as logical and rigorous. Over time, they will come to you in order to expose someone's wishful thinking or clumsy thinking. It is hoped that your analysis is never delivered too harshly. They got to work on that. Otherwise, people may avoid you when that wishful thinking is their own. Anyway, and we could get to the theme anatomy next, but any thoughts or reactions to the analytical theme so far?
Just in terms of all these themes, because I do have a lot of close people in my life who live in this realm, it's helped understanding it because they can feel very know-it-all-ish. Very, I want to prove you wrong all the time. So just understanding it's the way they're wired really helps.
Words of
My
wisdom.
son has context and analytical 1 and 2, and it's definitely helped me because I'm like, sometimes he hurts my feelings even.
And
Yeah,
we're
and
gonna
as
get
a
to,
person with very high blue colors, like I'm very high relationship building, that's what I think I get, Heather, is like, it feels like kind of robotic from them at times. And since I register in so much motion and people mode, it's like, it feels hurtful to me. So
Yeah, I call my son a Vulcan sometimes. He doesn't get that because, he's a kid and Star Trek is really old.
but we need to find like a character from Stranger Things that is more logical and Vulcan-like. Not 11 is that way, right? All right. Good, very good. All right, let's do the theme anatomy a little bit on it. So why would we need this quality? That's why I go to purpose. Remember, this model here is my theme anatomy. The idea is that Gallup is talking about it, themes at the patterns level, the patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. That's what we read when we read this. What are the patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in here? When we get to theme anatomy, my theory is that there's a core layer of purpose, a reason why this quality would exist in humans. And then because that quality exists, there's needs that get pursued. And in the pursuit of those needs, we form patterns. That's my theory. That's not Gallup supported or whatever, but it's just how these themes make sense to me. And when I run those patterns, out in the world around me, in my environment, though, they're either going to be a match or they're going to be a mismatch, right? And so that's why the coin model is about learning how to manage our themes, how to make them more mature. So why would we have this quality? Why would humans have the quality of analytical? I think it's to eliminate uncertainty. Eliminate inaccuracies and faulty logic so that the most accurate view of reality can be attained. Sounds pretty good, right? And so because of that, what do they need? Well, they need access to information and data. They need that. They need the ability to spot patterns. And they need the freedom to ask detailed questions. And if they don't get those things, they're going to be frustrated and they're going to come out like nasty twerps. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So because of that need, what feels good and what feels bad? Well, I feel good when the data is accurate and it's ample and it's, it's available to me. I'm going to feel impatient if I have to deal with guesswork or ignorance of the facts or sloppy reasoning. I'm just not going to like it very much. That's just one sample. There's probably many patterns. What kind of thoughts? And again, I phrase these in the form of questions, even though that's not necessarily the way we think, but the kinds of thoughts would be about, what is the root of this situation? What are the knowns? What are the unknowns? What data is available? What patterns do I see? That's the kind of stuff. And what are they going to do? They're going to ask lots of questions. They're going to look for gaps in logic. They're going to point it out. It's going to sound like gotcha. And it will be. They're going to focus on missing data. They're going to take steps to get data. Those are some of the behaviors. And the matches are situations where accuracy and quality take priority. In a place where people want to feel good and just bond, maybe analytical isn't the best mood generator. But when they're in situations that fit for them, they're going to be great. They're going to be able to search for reasons and causes. Things are going to be very fact-based and very thorough. Quality is important to people with analytical. They're able to look through lots of data and find the patterns, especially if they hone it better, if they develop this ability more cognizantly. Mismatches are situations that data is difficult to get, or being optimistic is more important than being accurate. Because these people will be killjoys in such an environment. I'm here to rain reality upon your parade. And don't you want to thank me for it? Why are you so mad? And so that's why they may intentionally intimidate others with their need for proof or with precise questions. They could be perceived as dispassionate, logical, nitpicky. So yeah, any thoughts or reactions to that? That's the analytical theme.
So I was looking at that first line there, that you were just showing on that slide. And so I was curious, is it just them looking for inaccuracies in actual reality, or can they put their own reality?
Great point. Great point. So now, hopefully, they're going to be objective, but we're all creatures of emotion. So that might be where analytical gets out of sorts. You know, when it gets when they can't be in a data-driven realm and they have to be in this other realm. And yeah, maybe social situations might be difficult for them to navigate because their reality, they may not accurately be able to perceive those things because that's all all wishy-washy stuff. But go on, you have more to say? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I know somebody who may have this in their top 5, and it's not really based on like realistic view. It's more like their realistic view. Like going to find data to prove that their reality is right.
I think you hit on what an immature analytical would look like. I don't know if I can pull it up pretty handily, but we do have our sort of like raw versus mature list. Have you seen that in our resources? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it might take a minute for me to pull it up, but so Heather, if you could grab it while we're talking, I don't know, that'd be great. But yeah, that you could look to any of these themes on that list and kind of go, what would the raw version look like? And what would the the mature version look like of analytical? And even that won't be complete, but it can give you a way to start thinking about it. And I think that's great. And so the development path for T2S would be to say, how can we use this theme so that it's more socially appropriate, So, and that for you, it's more beneficial. And how can we make sure that when you're looking for data, it's not just any data, that you're actually finding objective data, yeah. How did you find it? Or, okay, no worries. We'll come back to that. All right, I want to move to the next thing for now, unless anybody has anything else on analytical. All right, so the next one is context. And yeah, this was a tough one to get the image for it. But what we're trying to show is that this would be the present, and we want to see how did we get here. So we got a flower. What was a flower before? It was a little sapling or whatever. What was it before that? It was seeds. We can keep going. What was it before that? What was it before that? And that's kind of what context is about. How did we get here? So we look to the past for answers. We gain confidence when we're basing decisions on original intentions. Can you see how analytical and context both are about origins and roots and solid ground? Helps others avoid repeating mistakes. That's the positive thing. Like, hey, we did this in the past. We shouldn't keep doing it if it didn't work. It's about respecting and understanding. There's a sort of appreciation for the past, usually. A reverence for history. So people with this theme often do. It's not, it's at first I'm like, is that really true? Is that really just being cliche? But it's true. People with context do tend to enjoy history. A history of what depends on their other themes. And they view the present as unstable or confusing. So we need to go to the past to see why are we here. And it's also about being true to origins. So maybe there's some respect for traditions. The word religion, religio, comes from the Latin for to link back, to link back. And this is kind of like even the image we drew it accidentally is like linking back. And that's a way to understand the mind of someone with context. It's kind of, I think of the thinking themes, it's the least common. And it's the one that it just doesn't get talked about very much. It's hard to talk about. I don't know, maybe. Or the relevance might need to be, shown more. So what does Gallup say? What's the official way they describe it? You look back, because that's where the answers lie. You do it to understand the present. The present's unstable, confusing, clamor of competing voices. Nobody knows WTF. We'll know in a year from now who was right, maybe. It's by casting our mind back to an earlier time when the plans were being drawn up that the present regains its stability. Your earlier time was simpler. It was a time of blueprints. You begin to see these emerge. You realize what the initial intentions were. These intentions have since become so embellished, like the phone game where things as they pass along change, that maybe they're unrecognizable. So we might be lost in the present. So we want to go back to anchoring ourselves. So that makes me think about the belief theme, anchoring. But because we went to the past, we're no longer disoriented. We can make better decisions. Now that we know the underlying structure, we can be a better partner because we understand where your colleagues came from and why. You become wiser about the future because you saw the seeds of its past. And that's why I think it's important not just to think of it as about the past, because it's about the continuum more than it is about the past. But statistically, it will be rare for people to have both. Yeah, Heather, that's the one. That's raw versus mature. But it's helpful to have these people talk about the future with you and help you understand where you're going and how is it true to the origins. Now, maybe they're hard to talk away from the origins. Maybe there's time to change and move on, and that might be where the challenge comes in, the immaturity for this one. Anyway, you must discipline yourself to ask the questions and allow the blueprints to emerge, because no matter what the situation, you haven't seen the blueprints. You will have less, and if you haven't seen the blueprints, that is, you will have less confidence in your decisions. All right, so that's a little bit about the context theme. Anything about that before we talk about the theme anatomy of it? All right, Heather, will you pull up the raw versus mature? Okay, good. Yeah, so we can go to analytical and see that constantly questions and is seldom satisfied with the answers. Maybe that's one way the raw shows up, but maybe more on the mature side will make meaningful sense of complex realities. And then we may as well go to context a little lower. We have context. My love of yesterday keeps me from moving forward. As an immature, but maybe more mature would be my memory ensures that the best of the past will be preserved. And a lot of these come from Kurt Liesveld is his name. Kurt Liesveld was a very influential person at Gallup for helping to promote more thinking around these themes. And so he's the one who invented raw versus mature. And when Twitter first came out, he would use his Twitter feed because it was perfect. He actually used the limited number of characters from Twitter back in the early days to help him really focus his wording of the raw versus mature. I might have dabbled with the wording on some of these, so it may not be like pure Kurt Liesveld original, but a lot of it is. A lot of it is from him. All right, thanks, Heather. All right, so yeah, anything about context so far?
All right. With context themes, does that, do you find that people tend to be a little bit more resistant to change or slow to embrace change because of the view of the past and not having that blueprint in front of them of exactly what that might look like?
Yes, I mean, that is something you could encounter when you're bumping up against somebody who's like, but that's not consistent with why we started this. That's not now they might also be the quickest to accept change when you connect the changes to the origins. Like, this will help us fulfill the original purpose. We also have a document. I don't know if this might take a little digging, but we talk about change and each of the themes. Like, in what ways might a theme engage or embrace change under what conditions? And under what conditions might they resist change? So let's see if I can find something like that. Heather might be looking for it too for us. Yeah, actually, I did manage to find it. I don't know where I have it housed. I just know it came up. But check out this document, yo. Let's go to well, it's in red. See, this is before the color change, so we haven't changed this over yet. But change requirements, what the theme needs to accept the change enabler, how the theme can support the change, and change rut, how the theme could resist change. So if we go down to context, the requirement is that the change should honor the origins of the community and further its purpose. That's what would help them get behind change. And when that's the case, what are they good at? Well, they're going to help provide relevant insights from the past, and they can connect people's histories to the path ahead. So they can help say, guys, this is a good change because so they can help get behind it. Now, the rut, when they get stuck in their rut, which is the immature, that would be my equivalent of the immature side of the theme, then change that's disjointed from the organization's history. Change, how the theme could resist change. I don't know if I don't think my wording makes much sense here. But they're going to get in a rut because the change is disjointed from the original history, and that's just going to cause them to not feel good about the change because we aren't learning from the past. We're failing to learn from the past mistakes. So anyway, that's that one. Analytical, the change requirement would be change that addresses core issues and problems and is supported by the data. So if the change isn't supported by data, they might not get behind it. But if they do get behind it, then they're great at identifying the viability of the change and pointing out the inconsistencies so we can make sure it's as effective as possible. And they're able to approach change from a rational point of view. All right, that makes sense. But when they get in a rut, it's change that doesn't address core issues or it's not supported by the data. And then they're going to get stuck in their rut. They're going to get resistant to it. They're going to ask those questions and seem dissatisfied. So we can see about getting that document put into your materials too, if that is of interest. Good?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. Thanks for asking. All right. And then I'll try to go through it a little faster is the theme anatomy. Why would this theme exist? Why would we need this in our tribe? Again, my mind just goes back to a community living up, prehistorically. To strengthen the present by understanding the past and applying its lessons to fulfill the original intentions and stay on course and avoid repeating mistakes. I guess I got it all in there. And if that's my purpose, then what need do I have? What need, and then what patterns will it lead to is next. The need is for continuity, respect for origin history, the ability to research the past and understand how the present came to be. And you can read through more of these, I won't, it's going to kill my voice to keep talking actually this much. So, but you could see, the kind of feelings, what feels good, what would feel bad, and you can almost see that it gets a little repetitive too. And that might be happening if I keep talking as well. Like I'm going to keep repeating things that you don't need me to repeat. But I just wanted to get you down the pathway of seeing purpose, needs, patterns, and either a match, which enables us, or a mismatch that puts us in a rut. And that's exactly what this diagram shows. And that's theme anatomy. And this is a report in the document generator that you can get for any top 5. Maybe somewhere we have a document where they're just all in one, PowerPoint or one document. So I'm going to move on to futuristic, unless you guys have any thoughts about context, which is kind of interesting that we're going to go from context, which is largely associated with the past, but shouldn't be exclusively associated with the past, and futuristic, which is obviously about the future.
I am making a connection with some people, again, who have several of these in that top 5, and how it's almost unsettling because they operate in such a world of fact and science and proof. And just in our society, how many things now are, I don't know, it almost feels like even things that were historically known, whether it's through bias that we're now seeing through different paradigms, or just people who are arguing like scientific truth. Or I just find that societally, some things that are going on are really a struggle for people in this realm.
I can see that for sure. And that is why this comes back to me about mindfulness a lot. You know, you even see my weird little flip chart up here, not freedom of mind, but freedom from mind. The idea being that all of these themes I would consider located in the mind. And the mind is our collection of patterns for how we think, feel, and behave. So we need to be released from our patterns sometimes, because if I demand logic and consistency in situations where it might not be, that could be very difficult. Yeah. So it's a lot about the Strengths Finder for me, or Clifton Strengths, is about learning to manage our mind. It's not about the 34 themes. I love the 34 themes. Obviously, I'm a fan. I mean, I'm like, I've done more to kind of like celebrate themes with all the little trinkets and stuff than I think any other human on the planet, possibly. Guinness, get Guinness up in here. But I also realize that what they are is they're just 34 samples of patterns. There's a lot of patterns. Myers-Briggs is patterns. Enneagram is patterns. The DSM-5 patterns. So learning to manage our mind is the individual challenge. That's what I think our education system should be. You know, mastering our inner world so we can navigate the world around us more effectively in the time we're here. And navigating the world more effectively is just another way of saying thriving. Thriving is navigating the world effectively. Survival is like navigating the world with difficulty. And we'll experience both. That is completely natural. It's navigation. That's what it's about. That's what all of our tools at Positive Leadership are about. I mean, I know we're talking here with you about Talent to Strength, but all of our tools are about this, navigating the environment around us. All right, futuristic. We got to go. I'm always running. I'm a bad managing time. I confess is not a strength of mine. So help me out. Help me, people. All right, futuristic. You can just see the blueprint, which we talked a lot about here. But now we're seeing it cast into the future. So, and Heather, I don't know if you're listening, but this is Terry's number one was futuristic. And so that's kind of is Terry. So anyway, someone I know. All right, used to know. All right, futuristic sees the future in detail, like they do. Who here has this one? I know some of you do. Or maybe, yeah. Laura, you have it. Yeah, you're the only one that has it in their top 5 here. So yeah, I would love to see any comments related to this after I unroll this a little bit, unfurl it a little bit. You're already in the future going, okay, when I talk, I'll say these things. I see how you work. Loves to peer over the horizon, energizes others by painting pictures of what could be, is likely to be dissatisfied with the status quo because of that. They see the potential and others don't. And that could be frustrating too if you don't realize that. Like, don't you see? No, they don't. Takes action in the present to build toward the future. Almost like it could be stressful, like anxious in the moment because they're trying to get to the future. And it's like, you're slowing me down. It's like those dreams where you're trying to get away from the monster, but you're on an oil slick or you're on ice and you can't get traction and you can't get away. Well, in this case, it's you can't get not get away from the monster. You can't get to the future. And it's a different kind of stress or anxiety. What does Gallup say? Wouldn't it be great if? You're the kind of person, there's the peer over the horizon. The future fascinates you as if it was projected on a wall. You could see it in detail. It's very important. It keeps you looking for tomorrow. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Time keeps on slipping. Yeah, while the exact extent of the picture will depend on your other strengths and interests, a better product, a better team. You know, you see the betterness. Think about this with like Maximizer or something like that. That'd be like crazy. An achiever, which often happens. The futuristic often does come with achiever. Let's see. Yeah, Laura, it's your number one. Ouch. Not ouch. No, not ouch. It could be great. You know, it depends on if the world's working with you or not. If other people are, if your environment is this is very important for all the themes. Is your environment supportive of your futuristic? Yeah. So you could read. I'm not going to, I got to break you of dependence on me to read you everything. We're going, no, just kidding. I'm going to go into the theme anatomy a little bit. Why would a theme like this exist? To forecast a compelling end state that guides the present. See, there's a connection between present and future. There's a connection between present and past. Therefore, there's a connection between past and future. Futuristics on that one, context is on the past, but then which one is most about the present? Pop quiz, which theme is most about the present? Which, by the way, is the name of Heather's cat. Which theme, or Mitters the kitty, as some like to call it, what is the which theme is most about the present? It's in the relationship building themes, Laura.
I was going to guess focus, but I don't know.
Ooh, that would be a great one. That's a great one. But yeah, the one most associated with the present, I would say, begins with an A, rhymes with schmadaptability. Adaptability. Yeah. So you could think about context is a theme associated with the past. Adaptability is a theme about what's in the now, and then futuristic is obviously about in the then. But it's all of them are connected, as the connectedness thing would know. All right. So what do they need? They need something to look forward to. They need freedom to imagine possibilities. They need others willing to see what they see. Otherwise, it's lonely. And you could read about some of the rest here. But yeah, Laura, do you want to speak to what life is like with futuristic in it?
I was thinking about my other top 5 that are in sync with this futuristic, and definitely achiever is right there. So those two work really well together. Strategic is also in that top 5, but one that helps me with those strong 3 is the communication. I feel that I'm able to slow down and take my ideas and effectively communicate those with others around me. So luckily I have the communication to sort of help counterbalance the other 3 in that same category. But one of the ruts that I feel quite often is that I forget to enjoy the presence of today, and I forget to enjoy what we have accomplished and what we have achieved, because I'm just running so fast for the next part. So that has helped me see more clearly that I need to slow down a little bit.
Right. Such great self-awareness can come from this. Looking at the achiever theme and the futuristic and the strategic, how all of those themes could really, cause this incessant drive, constantly for the future, and a dissatisfaction in the present. Dissatisfaction in the moment. Because why? Because there's always going to be a gap between where we are now and where we can be. And so what's the solution? It is freedom from the mind. Is the solution. Mindfulness is what you can do to say, wait a minute. I don't have to work for any of you suckers. You work for me, themes. You work for me. Jennifer, what do you got? Yeah, go ahead.
It's just such a fun fact because Laura is such a NASA space travel fanatic. And I just think it fits with your futuristic so much that she loves space and opportunities and what's out there, and just such a cool connection.
That's great. Good. Very good. All right. Anything else, Laura, on futuristic?
It's also a good reminder that to surround myself with people who have top fives that are different than mine, because those people help keep me grounded, and those people help me live in the present and remember that mindfulness. And Jessica, I'm thinking of you because and Jen too. We work closely together, but you are two of the greatest people for helping me stay grounded and remember to appreciate the present. So thank you.
I love it. I think it's so great. I mean, that's like, I told you we have other content pieces, and one of ours that I haven't fleshed out as much as I want is about going from groups to teams, because most of what we call teams are really just groups. And, you know, the belief is that being on a team is really one of the greatest pleasures we could have in life, to be around other humans that actually treat you family-like, healthy family-like, you know what I mean? When there's no relationship at all. Because why? Well, we're united around something else bigger than us. It's an amazing factor, a great underrated factor. So more and more what we call the work we do is team journeys. Like what I think we're doing here is what we would call a team journey around talent to strength. And with another client, we're doing a team journey around our strategic alignment, aligning strategically. So the team journey is about going from group more and more to the team, and StrengthsFinder can be such a great tool in that, because it's about supporting each other where we need support, and then supporting others where we could provide it. You know, in life, if life is a river, there's a place in your river where your shoulders are wide enough that it's like the rocks that divide a river. You know, that's an image of strength that I have. Where does the water part around you? You know, that is a, you know, that to me is strength. All right, good stuff. And oh gosh, we're going to talk about a real problem theme next. This theme has ruined many lives. My life. No, I'm just kidding. Heather and I both have this theme, ideation. And this is the one, this is the wild card. This is what throws me off the schedule. This is what makes anytime I talk of a high wire act, because I'm ideating along the way. And the way I drew it, the way I described it to the graphic designer, she drew it differently than I described it, but I said, ideation is like there's a river flowing over my head at all times, you know, just a river of ideas. And in this river are fish, and those fish are the ideas. And anytime I need an idea, I just reach up into the river and grab it. There's always idea. There's never not idea. What do you want? Oh, we could do this. We could do that. We could do this. Oh, we could do this. Or how about that? Or what would this look like? And my mind just is that way. You can imagine it's a very flexible mind that likes to jump from things to things. So I have adaptability pretty high. So does Heather. Heather, where's adaptability in your top 5? Number 5. That's my number 6. So, you know, now maybe somebody else with ideation doesn't have that theme very high, but, you know, we like to bounce around. In fact, it's kind of like most people's range of thoughts are like within this, like a 2-lane highway, and ideation is more like a 8-lane highway. You know, we're just like, we could go over here and do this and over there. We're outside of the bounds. We span boundaries. Okay. We don't really like to be locked in. I'm kind of giving away a lot of the theme right there. You know, so you can see how it has its benefits and its you know, liabilities. So finds ideas fascinating and energizing, looks for connections among seemingly unrelated phenomenon. That's really true. It's like literally unrelated, and how could we connect them? Takes a novel look on familiar things. Yeah, we don't want to look at things the normal way. We want to think of things differently. We want to say the quirky thing or think outside the box. We like brainstorming. We enjoy viewing the world from unusual but enlightening angles. Can you see how this presents very differently than this? Now, it's possible. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever met someone that had analytical and ideation in their top 5. But why? Why would any group of humans on Earth need this? Well, or we aren't there yet. Gallups, there's your fascinated by ideas, concepts, best explanations for things. We like explanations. Now combine that with input, which both Heather and I do. I would imagine if we looked at our conversation, a lot of it is about us trying to find the best explanations for things. And it's fun when you find it. You find a simple, unexpected way of viewing things. And an idea is a connection. Heather has her number one is connectedness. So you can see how they would supercharge each other. It's a mind that's always looking for connections. Mine, I do a lot of verbal connections. I'm always doing wordplay. So you can see how that theme. So why would this exist? To expand options by imagining inventive possibilities. Let's say our tribe always did something a certain way, but because of the environment or something that's changed, we got to find new ways of doing things. Ideation's pretty helpful. Innovation, ideation. So that's our purpose. And why do we need it? Or what do we need? We need stimuli. We need freedom to explore. We need appreciation for originality and ingenuity. I get shut down when people call me weird. I mean, I know it's true, but it hurts. It's like a rejection of the originality and ingenuity and exploration. It's a judgment on it, which is just, it shuts the whole creative process down. And because of that, I've internalized judgment, me personally, so I can shut down my own creative process. But I'm at my best when I'm creative. It's just, I'm a ball of creativity, but it's a little much sometimes. So you can read about what feels good or what might feel bad. Doing the same old things, routine is no fun. Situations that are can be improved with fresh thinking are a good match. Situations where everything's already set. Yeah, I've often frustrated people because when we're about to get into action, I'll be like, oh, I have a new idea, everybody. And maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a better idea, but it's extremely frustrating for those, that need structure and routine, which I don't. All right, any reactions to ideation? You might have students with ideation that just blurt out ideas in class sometimes. They can't contain it. I did some class projects when I was given creativity that I might have taken a little too far sometimes. I won't tell the story. All right. But that's the ideation one. Do we want to go into input then next? All right. Input craves information and is naturally inquisitive. This is about inputting into oneself. This is a collector. This isn't about giving your input to others. It can eventually. That's not why Gallup used the word input. You input into yourself. You're collecting. Craves information, naturally inquisitive, retains interesting facts or objects, enjoys variety and complexity because they want to collect new things. They don't want same old, right? But at the heart of this, and I learned this directly from Kurt Liesveld, he taught me this, that it's really helpful to think of input as about utility, what's useful, because that's really what you collect. What you really collect are things that are deemed useful. So who here has it in this group? Christy has it. Let's see. It's Jennifer's number 1. So Jennifer, we're going to be looking at you for some input about your input. Let's get a little bit more here first. Let's read. You're inquisitive. You collect things. You might collect information. It tells you the different things. Whatever you collect is because it interests you. Your mind finds so many things interesting. So you're self-sufficient. And I don't know if that comes across here, but you're self-sufficient in your learning and in your gathering. You don't really need other people. You know how to gather or collect. And so that's pretty cool. You learn techniques, and you might, if you want to try to learn about your input, think about what techniques you use to gather or to find and to store and retrieve. So why do we need something like this? Why do we need it? To identify, collect, store, and share the most useful resources, knowledge, and solutions. that can be valuably leveraged by our community. Hey, did you look here? Or, hey, you know, we have this, don't forget about that tool or resource. Or, oh, you know who has a really good explanation of this? You should go check out that. So Jennifer, anything you want to say about your input? What's it like? Do you like Trivial Pursuit or Jeopardy?
I do. Yes. I love information. I love books. I love reading. I don't like stuff or clutter. So when I first read this, I was like, I don't know. I don't really collect things. I don't like a bunch of stuff around. But then when you said utility and what's useful, I was like, oh, wait, I do have like 7 million cookbooks, or I do have, like certain things that I
That's great.
have a lot of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that made a little bit more sense to me then.
Perfect. That's really great. And statistically, when somebody has input, there's a 40% chance they'll also have learner in their top 5.
That's
So it's your number 2. Yeah. And Heather, you have input in your top 5, but you don't have learner. Same here. But it happens a lot. So then they supercharge each other. And what's interesting too is I used to confuse them a lot. I had a hard time distinguishing, like, what's the difference between learner and input? They're both about collecting and gathering. Well, in fact, we're going to get to learner next. So or I think it's next. If it's not, it'll be coming up soon. No, we got intellection and then maybe learner. So yeah, let's get moving. We'll come back to it. But yeah, any other thoughts on input? Any things that you like or dislike about it?
Jen, I just need you to coach someone high on that, on how to not be a hoarder. Like, everything doesn't have to be saved. It might be useful. And that's like, well, you never know when you might need it. And it's like, as someone who's a little more minimalistic, as you could tell, it's a struggle.
Yeah, I need guidelines. Like, if I haven't used it in a certain amount of time, it's gone. And then reminding myself that like space is also valuable, and how much space and like decision fatigue, energy, and am I willing to put into something, that helps me toss things a little bit more quickly.
Right. That's really great. Yeah, I want to tell you that input for me was the hardest to connect with. Remember, COIN is really important for learning our themes. Connect with your themes, observe your themes. If you don't connect, you can't observe. And observe your themes so that you can, when you need to, interrupt your themes. If you can't observe your theme, you can't interrupt. And learning to not just interrupt our themes, but to nuance our themes, to dial into this. That's the COIN model. But I didn't connect with input at first. I didn't understand it. But then one day it clicked. I was driving in my car, listening to an interview on the radio with a comedian named Russell Brand. I don't like him, but and he's got ideation off the charts, by the way. But he said something I did find amusing. He told the interviewer who was asking him questions about himself, and he said in his British accent, you know, I'm an unreliable witness of my own existence. I thought that was really good, because that's actually true of most people. Most people are unreliable witnesses of their own existence. They don't really see themselves clearly. I mean, the unexamined life is not worth living. I mean, we have these observations, you know, go to thine own self be true, you know, like this observation that you can't be authentic. Anyway, I love the quote. And what I was doing is I was mentally rehearsing it in my head. I was imagining talking in front of my students, quoting him, going, oh, I am an unreliable witness of my own existence. And that's when I realized that for me, input is about mental rehearsal. I rehearse. Jennifer, can you relate to that at all as I describe that, or?
Absolutely.
And it's that mental rehearsal that's the inputting process for me. That's how I'm inputting it. Oh, there's this, you know, it's like, okay, so that's useful. I want to retain it. And that's a pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that I've developed. And had Don Clifton never did his work, I would not have known that there was a name for that part of me.
I think your input shows up under the cloak of your individualization a lot. Because you do pull out, you're like, oh, you like this, you should check this out.
Yeah. It's kind of the way I know people. I actually cannot remember faces very well at all. It's a huge social problem for me. I have to ask people sometimes how I know them, if I go outside at all. So if I circulate among people. So anyway, no, I mean, but so that is how I know people. So think about the combination, you know, input and learner, input and individualization, you know, like the theme combos get exciting. All right. Really cool, really cool. All right, keep going on themes. That is not what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this so we could get back into our next thing, which is intellection. We got intellection, learner, strategic, and we're done. So we got a few minutes. We got 17 minutes. All right. Intellection enjoys mental activity. Who here has intellection in their top 5, by the way? Nobody. I do. It's my number 4. And I enjoy mental activity and stretching my mind. I value time alone to ponder and reflect. I like to be deeply introspective and insightful. I like to strengthen ideas by asking depth probing questions. And I like to evoke critical thinking in other people. And this is kind of like sitting back and looking at the complexities and the interconnections. But it's about depth and it's about wisdom. How does Gallup describe it? They say you like to think. And that is true. Learners like to learn. See, that'll be the next one. You love to learn. And it sounds so simple, but it makes all the difference. I don't like to learn. I like to think. Those aren't the same things. I don't like the process of sitting there and drudging through other people's poorly created materials that may or may not have an intentional design behind it. And I have to figure things out. No, but I do like to think. You see how they're different? I do like mental activity. I am always in my mind doing things. Always, always. Like if you interrupt me at any point, I'm intellectualizing. And yeah, why does something like this exist? To produce deeper understanding, insight, and wisdom through active reflection and inquiry. And that's really what I'm after. I'm after wisdom. I want insight. And so does analytical. We go about it in different ways. They like data. I like depth of thought. That doesn't mean I won't incorporate data, and it doesn't mean someone with analytical won't think deeply. It just depends. So people with intellection, they need time for reflection. I need this more than I think people think, because I am very spontaneous in other ways and talkative in other ways. But like, if I don't know, especially my strategic, which we'll also talk about too today, it's my number 1 theme. But if my strategic can't see it, then I really need to reflect. I can, anyway. So the thing about intellection is a lot of times people might see somebody with intellection and think they're not having fun because the thinking face is not a happy face. Are you all right? Is everything all right, Adam? Oh, yeah, I was having a party in my head and you weren't invited, but you crashed it and ruined it. So thanks. What superficial thing would you like to talk about? Not good. Just kidding. It's good. It's all good. It's all good. So any thoughts or reactions to this one, the intellection theme? What do you think about it? What do you think of this intellection theme or people who have it? Be honest. Our feelings don't get hurt. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have it, but I could definitely see, like, I know Bo he's talking to Heather about unlocking our 34, but I would imagine it's up there somewhere. And I like how you pointed out that a learner and intellection is completely different, because I'm with you. I like to think, but I do not like to learn.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. The wording of the theme, of going back to the original wording, is one of the most helpful ways to learn the themes. And that's why I'm going through these with you. I'm trying to, go through each one, show you connections and ways to understand, ways to spot, ways to relate to that theme so that you could help that theme for yourself if it's one of your themes, or help other people with it and find that individual environment fit. That's what that gesture means to me. We want to find that there's you as the individual and you're going to be an environment. We want to try to maximize the fit. All right. So next is the learner theme. And yeah, with the way we draw, I used to have a funnel on the top of her head. It made her look weird, but all these little light bulbs would be going into the funnel in her head. And that's because they just soak up information. And, look how happy she looks sitting with the books. Enjoys the process of learning, wants to continuously improve. They never think they know enough. This is something about you learners out there. Who do we got representing the learners? We've got Cheryl has learner in her top 5. Laura, it's her number 2. Jennifer, it's her number 2. Bo, it's your number 5. So you do like to learn. Thrives in dynamic work environments and on new projects. Like they don't get mentally fatigued. That's another aspect. So they easily absorb and digest new information. They just have a lot of endurance for that. So Gallup, they love to learn. The subject matter that interests you most will be determined by your other themes. So what what do you like to learn about? It's the process more than the content that is especially exciting for you. So it's the process of learning. That discovery feels good to you. For me, it's like, I deployed effort. Was it worth it? And so my input is like, that's where probably the input thrives is, was it worth it? It asks the question. Whereas learner, they're like golden retrievers of the brain because they're like, I'm just glad to be here. Anything new and interesting. Yeah, so there's that. Why would we need that theme? Why would we need it? Why would communities need it? To continually gain new knowledge through inquisitiveness, study, and enjoyment of the learning process. What do I need? I need interest in a topic. I need access to knowledge. I need time to absorb. I need ability to apply the knowledge gained. And just again, like I didn't do this with the other ones, but we have it as a learning theme. But could this help you get things done? Could learner help you get things done? Absolutely. Could learner help you build relationships? Absolutely. Could learner help you influence others? Yes, indeed. Same with any of these. Intellection can help you get things done. Intellection can help you connect with other people. Intellection can help you be influential. I can do that with all of them, All right. So that's the learner theme. Any thoughts, reactions, questions?
For me, learning about those it's been really helpful because I have input and learner, and then intellection is my number 6. But in working more with adults the last couple of years, it's been helpful for me to look at that and then remember that not everybody has those as their themes, because I know that information for me is really helpful, but for a lot of people it can be very, very overwhelming. So looking at like, how can I better chunk things and piece things like apart? So just that awareness, I'm trying to be more intentional about not doing an information overload.
It's a constant struggle, isn't it? Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on the learner theme? One thing I want to show you, this is from our other work on leadership. We have a lot of thoughts on leadership, but it applies here. So one of the aspects of leadership we talk about is authenticity as an essential aspect or capacity of leadership. And so this is a model I developed. I call it the 4 rooms of authenticity, but you can see how we could apply our themes to this model. So it's the first room is this one here. It starts with self-knowledge. So what does the theme say about me? How does the theme impact me? And for good and bad, and that's where the second room comes in, is we need to accept the good and the bad. We need to accept our positive qualities, and we need to accept our shadow side. But we don't stop there. That's the thing. That's where the third room comes in. We have to constantly move toward our potential. So we don't just get to self-accepting, go, that's just the way I am, take it or leave it. We get to say, who am I meant to be? Where am I at? I accept that. And how could I develop? And we need to be in charge of our own development. Nobody else will. I mean, maybe, but you can't count on it. And then the fourth room is, and this is where it begins to make its way to leadership, is self-assertion. Asserting ourselves. If we're a self-knowledgeable, self-accepting, and self-developed person, then I want more assertion from those people. I want them more assertiveness. I want them to put their will out into the world more than people who haven't done these three things. And as you put yourself out of the world, you gain more self-knowledge. But I hope you could see it's your themes too. What do my themes teach me about myself? What should I be accepting about myself? How could I be developing myself? And then in what ways could I assert myself? Why would I assert myself in the world? Because that's another way of saying thriving. The word thriving comes from the Norse for to seize or to grasp. Thrifa, yeah, to seize or to grasp. And assertion is another way of saying that. Without clubbing other people or hindering other people, that's aggression. I'm not talking about aggression. That's different. I'm talking about assertion, your perfect right to pursue what's rightfully yours to pursue in a way that does not hinder other people from pursuing what's rightfully theirs to pursue. Comes from a book called Your Perfect Right. And it's about assertiveness. And I think young people need to learn about assertiveness. All right, that was a side note. That was like a little extra, a little lagniappe, as they like to say in Nolans. They don't call it New Orleans. You're uncool if you call it New Orleans. Let's go to, the last one. But my first theme, strategic. And who else has it? Christy's number 2, Cheryl's number 5, Laura's number 5.
I don't have this, but I shared with you off session the other day that when I took this again, this came up as my number 1. So I'm super intrigued as never being a thinker.
Right? Well, no, this almost is an intuitive aspect. I don't even know how thinky it is. It's like you're like, if I go here, then this or that. And if that happens, then this or that. And the way it plays out, like if I'm driving and I'm like, oh, I need to get off the highway at this exit, but I'm in this lane and there's several cars in this lane, and looking behind me, this person's coming up really fast in the lane I want to get into. Do I wait for them to pass me up and then move over? Or should I, like everything is strategic, and my whole life operates that way. My relationships, or the way I would clean my house, oh, I'm going to go into that room, so I may as well grab that thing that's in that room. But while I'm in that room, I should probably do this. And then, if I'm going to be in that room, I should grab that from the other room. And then it's like, this whole chain, but it's constantly buffering me and my reality. It's like a slight buffer in the future. It's not futuristic. Futuristic is way out. I mean, way out there. For me, there's a buffer of like in the natural sequence of events. So I have a philosophy that kind of helps me with my strategic. It's called go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll see further. All right. So strategic. Yes, thanks for the messages in chat. All right. Very cool. Very cool. I know you got a jet and Adam talks a lot, but that's what the video's for. All right. Strategic, you can see the image is like when she puts this piece over here, it's checkmate. If you play chess, which by the way, that's where I probably started developing it. I used to, as a child, play chess and stare at the chessboard I could stare at the chessboard for a long time, and not move. But I am moving. I'm moving a lot. And very frequently, because it's like, if I do this, my opponent will do this, and and then if back it up. If I do this and then they do this, then I do this, then they do this. Okay. And that's what's happening constantly. If then. And a woman in one of my workshops described her learning this. It was her number 1 theme. She would ride horses and jump with horse. I forget what that's called. Like, whatever. Horse jumping. It's not
Hunter
jumping.
jumper.
What is that?
Hunter jumper.
Great, perfect. So she
might have been doing dressage too. I don't know.
Something, but she had to think about how many gates or steps the horse would have before she got there. And that's very strategic in a different way. So that's what this theme is about. Let's see what Gallup says about its. The strategic theme enables you to sort through the clutter and find the best route. It's not a skill that can be taught. It is a distinct way of thinking, a special perspective on the world at large. This perspective allows you to see patterns where others simply see complexity. Yeah, I pull out patterns, and I think sometimes people think I might be paranoid, if I'm sometimes. Mindful of these patterns, you play out alternative scenarios, always asking, what if this happened? Okay, well then what if that happened? And but it's super fast. And this recurring question helps you see around the next corner. And this begins to see why it's valuable. There you can evaluate accurately the potential obstacles. Guided by where you can see each path leading, you start to make selections. You discard paths that lead to nowhere. You discard the paths that lead straight into resistance. You discard the paths that lead into the fog of confusion. Yeah, that sounds like me. And then the anatomy. They quickly determine options for the best path, desired results, playing through scenarios. I do a lot of that, playing through scenarios and selecting the most sensible one and making the best use of resources. The analytical might see that comma has an extra space in there. Why do we have this, or what needs do we have? Well, I need to know the outcome, and you can see outcomes are very important in my model. If I don't know the outcomes, then it's hard to build a strategy, because strategy to me is methods. I have a whole set of tools around strategy. It wouldn't surprise you. I have a whole course around strategy. I have a philosophy around strategy, actually. POM is about that. Strategy is the highest level of methods, and methods need to be converted into tactics. I mean, I have a whole thing there, but I'll wrap up there on strategic. See, what reactions do you have to any of the 34 things, or any of the thinking themes, or anything we talked about today?
I was just connecting how I think really looking at that strategic, I think I always just thought a lot of those were maximizer, because maximizer is my two. So you're describing like, I'm going in that room, I can also do that. And but I can see a lot of alignment with that and freeing that clutter. I was just talking about not wanting clutter and stuff, and like, I don't know, it does make sense now that we dug in deeper.
Can we get there from here, and how? There's a word called telos that's important to me, only because of what it's about. Telos, there's another word from that called teleological, and it means that there's an end point. It's moving toward an end. And I see life that way. I'm like, my life, it's moving toward an end, you know? So strategy is the between here and there. And how do we get between here and there? How do we get between the now and the end point? What's the best way to do it? What are the best way to use our resources? And so I have aesthetics related to that. In my mind, I have the way things should be that I don't know until I know it, but I always know if it's not that way, and it's a perpetual dissatisfaction because it's an intuitive, how do we get there from here sense. And when I'm in a good state, it's because like, okay, I can see how we could get there from here. And when I'm internally unsettled, it's because I can't see how we're going to get there from here. And it's, you know, it's an important internal factor for me to know. And another example of how the themes are a very rich part of describing our inner experience. And implied in all that I said about all of these themes is what I'm trying to do is describe the inner experience of someone with these themes. Yeah. All right. Any pluses or delties for today? Is that it? Did we get through all the 4 groups, or are we missing any of the groups? Did we get through, did we do it? Did we do the yellow themes, the influencing themes? Then I think we did them all. I think we got through all 34 themes, which means we'll be getting back into coin model for our next session. I think we did connect. I'm going to move into observe. Now that we've covered the themes, now how do we observe them, or how do we teach others to observe them? All right. I think that's enough for today, unless anybody has any other comments. I don't have to be anywhere, so I just want to respect that you do. Thank you all. Enjoyed it as always. Take care.